first time we are going live here at the Velvet Lounge headquarters, which is the home of the Garretts. And you're on our family channel here. And I did have a couple people who wanted a gardening update. And thank you to those that are following me on YouTube and those on the Velvet Lounge Life that actually asked me about gardening updates because I used to do the gardening on that side. But now we have this separate channel where we do our family oriented things. And on the Velvet Lounge Life, we deal with reselling, antiques, vintage collectibles, oddities, junk journaling, button histories, ephemera, and so many other things. But here we're going to talk about gardening today. These are the remainder of my flowers from Mother's Day. So gorgeous and befitting. This is a plant that my sister gave me. But what you're really here for isn't the fishing, but to look at what we're doing with gardening. So I have microgreens that I am growing in our kitchen. And I do that pretty much year round. Here in New England, we can't do it year round outside, but you do if you have a big sunny area like we have these floor to ceiling almost windows here. So in the breakfast nook, which is actually a very large area. So on this beautiful granite table, it's a perfect place for this because the granite keeps the plants a little bit cool, but the sunlight coming through definitely helps them with their growth cycles. And you can see there's two orchids over there that are I think I've had these orchids for at least 10 years. And they grow and reproduce orchid flowers at least 3 or 4 times a year, which is really nice. So let's go outside and see what's happening with the gardening there. Oh, and I also wanted to give you guys a construction update. So out here on the deck, we have, look at these first. These are the remainder of the sage plants, which I need to find a home for. I might even just grow them at the edge of our forest or woods here and just let the sage go wild. I'm not sure though. I have some dirt down there because I'm putting in the mint over the next few days because I want a crazy let it go for the flow mint patch. And I have one that's growing in the front of the property in the front yard, but I don't have one that's here in the back. We do have wild mint that grows out there in the woods, but I am not brave enough to go out there looking for it, so I'll do it my own way from my own seed. But here we have the beet plants, which I honestly thought these were not going to make it. These are some tough mother truckers. I can't believe that these plants made it. They were spindly, leggy is what they call them, and I just sort of kept working with them, doctoring them. Then it got to a point where I was like, you have to fly on your own. And I brought them out here and put them into the dirt, and they've been out in the dirt for maybe 2 weeks, and they definitely have grown and sprouted and are looking amazing. The radishes, same thing, incredibly leggy. And look at them now that I've, doctored them. And when I say doctor them, really all I did was put them in a mixture of my own version of compost. And you guys know, I believe in using eggshells, nutshells, leaves, little tiny bits of sticks and twigs. I do mix, of course, dirt in there and such and let it flow, and this is what you get. So the radishes should do really well, and it'll really be the first year where I have radishes that I grow to full radish. Usually I use them as microgreens, but this year we want to use the greens, but we really want the radishes more so. because my husband will eat those. And he eats the microgreens as well because I put them in salad and he doesn't know the difference. And here I am growing kale, as well as this is arugula right here. There's a little arugula tag in there somewhere. There you are, more visible. And then here I have basil that's coming in, which honestly I wasn't sure if it was going to. The basil always surprised me. I'm always like, oh, I don't know if it's going to make it. And next thing you know, basil just seems to grow a little bit slower for me, but it will grow to full maturity, which is amazing. Cilantro, which I grow for myself and my sister, and I dehydrate them, and it's amazing. And look, there's some basil that's over here. Then over here, what we have are the melon plants, which once again, I thought these were in dire straits. And they looked at me and said, no, just give us a chance, Mrs. And so the melons are actually doing much better than I thought. Some Swiss chard here. Don't worry, you know I love Swiss chard. There's some more melon. Here's some more kale that's growing. And then over here, which I'm excited about these, but I'm also kind of scared because I'm like, are you going to do well? And then you're going to like bail out on me. But it's my first time ever growing pumpkin. So I decided to just try a couple of plants, even though something is growing. I have something growing in here. I don't know what it is. But the pumpkin plants are looking amazing. So by the time Halloween comes, we should definitely have a few of those. And one will go to our daughter. And then here, more melon, but these melon plants are not doing as well. Totally still alive. But looking at the stocky part is what worries me. But we'll see what happens. And something I've never grown again, I decided to try. So I tried a couple things I never grew before. Corn. And yeah, from a raised mobile garden bed, you guys. So you can see there's two different sizes because the taller ones I grew from seed in the house. So I turned them into seedlings and I transplanted them. And then the others that are smaller, I put directly into the dirt because I just wanted to see like which would grow best. Would just direct sowing work, and to direct sow them literally. Excuse me. I just made a little hole and put the seed in there. That was it. And then we have turnip greens, which I use as a microgreen as well, that are growing in this pot. And they're a little overwatered, so I'm letting those dry out a bit before I add any more water. And the cottonwood trees, totally active. Yesterday, you would have thought it was snowing. There was so much cottonwood fluffiness all over the place. But they're full regalia. But today, thankfully, because so much of the pollen and the fluffies from the cottonwood trees and stuff was like blown around by the wind. Today it's just like very dry out here. So look at the giant hostas. Love these. My husband kind of gets freaked out by them because it probably is going to grow another 30%, maybe 35, 40% max. Our pink feather flowers, there's an official name for them. I don't know what they are, something about feathers. I don't remember exactly what they're called. They're not gay feathers. We do have gay feathers as well. And here's the impatient patch. So we're going to have billions of impatiens. One of my goals this season is to pull up some of these and transplant them, not all of them, but some of them, on another portion of the property. We'll talk about that in a future video. And something I really love are butterflies. They symbolize just everything good and remind me of my grandmother who also loved butterflies. And so the butterfly bush here is doing amazingly. Yesterday I had to pull out, I'm going to say 3 dead branches, because that's what happens with these bushes is after a certain number of years these branches die off, and you simply snap them off. They make amazing kindling for fire. And then sometimes I'll take the tiny little branches and I will break them up and disperse them throughout the yard, add some nitrogen to the yard. But the plant looks stunning and the flowers will come and go. So what happens is they'll die off and regenerate, I'm going to say like maybe 4 times, 3 times during a season. So you'll be like, oh, the flowers are gone. And next thing you know, you'll see that they come back again, which is so cool. And I love that. I love like regenerative type floral, situations because it's just pretty. And then over here, oh, there was a hummingbird that zipped right past me saying, get away from my bush. Oh, let's look down here first. We have sage. So here is some of the sage that's here. These little plants, these are the newer ones. And this is the one that's regrowing from 2 or 3 seasons ago when I planted it here. And I just let it grow large enough so I can harvest enough of it for dehydration because we use it. It's awesome. In any poultry dish, duck, chicken, pheasant, Cornish game hens, anything that's poultry. This is my little onion patch that I'm trying to start here. You can see it looks like little bits of grass, but it's really little bits of onion plant that's growing. And this year we may not be able to harvest anything really, but next year they should do well. I have 2 brand new dogwood trees that are growing right there. When they get to be about probably 7 or 8 inches tall, I will actually harvest those and give one to my friend, my best friend Kim, and to my sister. And here we have some lilies. I forgot to show you the oriental lilies right here had babies. So it used to be like this one plant, but you can see there's several baby plants out there, which is awesome. We've had that plant since, I'm going to say maybe 2000, probably 4, no, maybe 2005-ish. So it's doing amazingly well. And the dogwood tree itself, like this is the one that we purposely, well, I was given this by my child and husband for Mother's Day several years ago. And it is just a beauty, and its flowers and berries are just starting to come in. They're not completely in yet, and because these will be a white ivory color, so they won't be plain old white. They'll be like a beautiful ivory, but right now they have this like green iridescence to them. And of course the berries are brilliantly reddish, pinkish kind of. And most people don't know, you can consume not the actual like seed that are in the berry, but it's like the pulp. There's like a pulp in it, and you can just kind of suck that off of the seed, and it is so tasty, so sweet, so delicious. Some people actually make a dogwood wine. We don't do that because, not to be mean, I probably wouldn't want to go through the process, to be honest. I'd rather just buy a nice bottle of champagne or something. And over here, I told you the Swiss chard was coming. The Swiss chard is here. No, I am not growing as much as I have in previous years, but that doesn't mean that I might not grow more. There's still time. And I can see that one little tiny bit of basil is coming in right here. It's a little tiny green nub. I don't even know if you can see it. But there is basil growing in here, and then we have the strawberry plants, which, because they've been moved, I believe, 2 times already this season, they may not sprout any strawberry, like greenery, but I checked the roots, they are still totally alive. So that just means they're probably on hiatus until next season. This gorgeous wine-colored box bush. There's an official name for this also. I don't remember what it is. You'll hear me say that often. And in here, guess what? More lilies. We have irises. I put some wildflowers over there. This is one of my resident favorites. And my goal, and I do have goals for some of my long-term plants. So my goal for this plant, which is an American hazelnut tree, is that it grows to this particular tier right here. That's my goal for this season, is to get it to that tier. So it's doing incredibly well. I can see that some of the leaves have a little bit of insect damage, so I will spray that with some watered down Dawn dishwashing liquid. And what I do is for every tablespoon of Dawn, add a cup of water. It can be warm water, that's fine. We just finally put plants in the 2 holes that were here. That's why there's dirt there. And yes, we have sandy soil, so we have to add soil to these, like anything that I plant in the actual ground, just to give the plants nutrients and to ensure that they take. So this one we had potted for maybe 3 months. I think maybe it was more like 2 months. And finally it's in the ground, it's doing well. I can tell because the flowers are established, are starting to open. The plant has spread out a little more. Yes, there's a couple leaves that sort of did not make it, or branches or whatever. And over here we have this plant. I should know what it's called, but it's a peony. A peony plant, and it's doing really well, much better than the other plant, as a matter of fact. This is the newest addition. And the plants, which this is similar to that first plant that I showed you, but the difference is that one has a large leaves and this one has smaller leaves, and the flowers kind of cluster versus growing like in a straight line, sort of. Kind of in a straight line, but each one is sort of like reverse of each other, if that makes sense. And this is the same thing. Both of these last 2 bushes used to be at the side of our house. Well, not at the side, but at the front of the house, on the far left and the far right sides of the walkway, and we moved them when the walkway was installed. Well, we actually had one taken out and a new one installed. And I was like, yeah, because every year I have to do a major cut of these. Over here in this area of the property, they can go crazy, and we are not cutting them. But over at the front walkway, of course we have to cut them because they would be so huge. And our neighbor who has the horse farm down the street, we have 3 animal farms in the area. One is like a mixture of all sorts of animals, from pigs to ducks to turkeys to horses that are regular size and miniature size, goats, sheep, also just all kind of chickens, whatever. They have everything. And then down the road from us, I could actually walk. Oh, you hear the horse. Hopefully it's fine. It's complaining. Hi. Oh, and here they come. I'm going to videotape them. I hope you're okay being on video. I was out here videotaping my gardening. I was like, look, what a treat. What a beauty. You're welcome. Yeah, they get out probably, I'm going to say in a month, I'll see them. If I'm out here and just happen to be out here, I'll see them probably 3, 4 times. But here we have, yeah, so those bushes were moved because they would get so tall. They just look too overgrown to be in that location. So over here, they can grow and be happy and healthy forever, and we do not care how big they get. And then here we have the trumpet flower bush. The reason that this is such a special bush, and you guys have heard me talk about this bush before, is, and it's, you can see it's pretty lengthy. It's tall and it goes to the far left and the far right, is because it attracts hummingbirds. Now, the thing with the hummingbirds is we used to have this where we did some construction this year, and that was amazing because you could just sit out on the deck and the hummingbirds would come and do, they didn't even care about you. They would even come under the umbrella, zip up, zip down, and go about their business. Unfortunately, because we move this at the edge of the street, we won't get that kind of action, but we will still attract hummingbirds because of the butterfly bush, which is nice. But it was nice having this in that location. And plus, the right now, obviously, it's still early in our season here. So it'll be probably, I'm going to say 2 to 3 weeks. No, probably more like 3 weeks, 3.5, maybe even, yeah, 3.5-ish weeks before everything is in its full bloom. So right now you see that the flowers are small, they're young, the leaves are nice and tender. But when these open up, wow, the flash of color is absolutely stunning. And over here we have, I don't know what kind of hosta this is. This is another one my husband, this one kind of freaked me out too, I have to admit. And this is at its full regalia. It gets very tall, very big, but it is a hosta. And I was able to trim it down to almost nothing, and it still came back. I wasn't trying to get rid of it. I just needed to control the size so that I could put other things in this area. So here we have some lilies that had babies and expanded all the way out here. All of the lilies used to be in this area right here. So they're still there. You can see some escaped. You can see that this plant had babies that actually escaped and are here and on the lawn. This is from the cottonwood plant, that cottoniness that you see mixed in with these beautiful purplish flowers. So yeah, we had a lot of nursery rhyme things going on this season. Don't know why. Didn't do anything different than usual, but you know, maintaining things and making sure things stay weeded, I think it's probably like the most important part of the success when gardening. It's not about how much you plant, because depending upon what you plant, of course, you also have to maintain it. But also in that realm, you want to plant things that make sense for your property and that you will actually enjoy. Because if you enjoy them, you're more apt to plant things and take care of things. So let's go over here. And take a look at this. Now, this is a sad tale of woe and horrible, horrendous choices that we made. So, unfortunately, but fortunately, due to some construction that we decided to have done, and it was just really a redesign. It wasn't like we had to do anything. It's just that we were deciding how long are we going to live here, how long are we not going to live here, etc., etc. And then when we decided, yeah, we're going to be here for quite a while longer, maybe forever, we decided this tree that we had grown from a baby for, I'm going to say maybe 5 years, was doing amazingly. It was a dogwood tree. Note the word was. And unfortunately, we moved it in August. Never move your plants in the hottest or obviously the coldest times of the year. I knew I was taking a chance. I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. I did all sorts of amendments to the soil, hoping that it would be forgiving. I watered, watered, watered. And unfortunately, this plant not only did not make it, it decided to lean, because of the direction I'm standing in right now, to the left, better than leaning to the right. And it just did not make it. And you know it did not. One of the ways you can test whether your tree is healthy is if you can go like this, that's unhealthy. You can look and see inside. I don't know how clear that is. It's brown. It should be green. I could literally probably snap this tree in half with no issues. So what we are going to do here, thankfully in our state, or in our planting zone, which is zone 6A, there are plenty of clearance plant sales that will come up in probably like August, end of August, definitely into September. They're trying to get rid of everything and prep for fall. So we plan on digging this tree up at that point, or I don't even know if we could just pull it out of the ground. We haven't tried that, but we'll see. And replacing it with something else. Probably maybe an evergreen. We're thinking about a dwarf evergreen, because if you do buy dwarf evergreens, this is just from our experience, because you guys know we are natural landscapers. I do not believe, and we used to do this, we used to be evildoers or as well ourselves, where we would take up all of nature and throw in some grass, just man-made everything. And now, especially living on this property, that was one of the things I said we are not going to do. Now, if we throw down some hands of grass seed, that's totally fine, but we're not going to try to kill all the plants that grow here naturally just to do that. So that's, one of the reasons why I'm waiting until the end of the season, because we can recover a plant that's going to be on clearance. I have zero clues what they do with the plants they don't sell. And then we can replace that one. And I'm going to show you some pretty, we have so many pretty wildflowers that grow here. Because we do natural landscaping, and we don't like try to kill whatever is growing. So you have buttercups that grow. Look at these beauties. The only thing I don't like is this year we seem to have more ants coming here in the actual, not the whole yard, but it's only partially in the front yard in this one little area. It's really weird. But anyway, we have elderberry bushes. Oops, telling you rotate right. Sorry I dropped you. But we have the elderberry bushes. That one its growth was stunted because once again we moved the plant in August of last season. This one we did not move, and it has grown at least 40%, at least. It will definitely be coming out of its cage probably, if not the end, like I would say within maybe 2 or 3 months from now, definitely next season. This will no longer reside in a cage. I am kind of afraid. We have active deer. So we actually were out here yesterday, and a deer just went right through the yard as if we did not exist. It was a baby, so I am concerned that something happened to its mother, because you could tell it wasn't the youngest baby we've seen, but it was definitely young. The miniature rose bush is starting to get action on that. We have one here. We also have one over there, the tallest bush that you see over there in front of the house. And the, over the fall, we had 5 trees, which we had cut down. So now you can see our neighbor's house, whereas before you really couldn't see their house. Um, but it was definitely just about time that we did it because we were like, either we do it now or we wait until something happens, meaning a storm, and the tree partially, one of the trees, and actually 2 of the trees in particular, definitely had a trajectory that would have probably have fallen towards our house. So I was like, yeah, I'd rather just have these trees cut down. And when the guys were here, I walked around with them and I decided to have 3 others cut down. Beautiful dandelions. Dandelions are amazing aspects of nature. Do some research. If my whole yard was dandelions, I would be happy and have some free salad food. And we have, I do know what this bush is called. I never can remember the name. I know I'm horrible when it comes to that, you guys. But you guys can tell me what the names are. But the white ivory flowers have just started coming in. But the fuchsia-y, pinkish, purpley, highlighted flowers are definitely in, and they're not even fully in yet. But this bush is so huge. I remember when we planted this, we planted the ivory one and this one right here, and they were just, I want to say I think it was 8-gallon potted plants. And look at them now. Absolutely crazy how big they are. But we have gone over whether to keep or trim down or whatever, and we decided just keep them. I mean, what are they hurting? We have plenty of room to plant other things if we wanted to. It's recycling day coming up on, because today is of recycling. And this giant stone is a true boulder, and over half of it is being covered up by this bush. But on the other side, you can see it a little more. Let's go over here and take a look at some things. This is another tree that I considered having cut down, but we can't cut down all the trees. The thing with this one, and this is why and these trees, I don't know, at least a couple 100 years old. The other one, we had 2 that were probably about 300 years old, according to the tree doctors and stuff, or whatever they're called, tree surgeons. Now, the issue with this tree is you have branches that are the size of trees coming off of it. You would die if one of these fell on you. The only one I'm really worried about is this piece right here, but it looks really stable. It's in there. Also, it's not a split trunk, which the other 2 giant 300-year-old trees we had the trunks which split like right here and split out as if it's turning into 2 trees. That's really dangerous because when one side becomes too heavy, it literally splits all the way open. And that split was heading towards our house on both of those trees, so they unfortunately had to go. This was an oak right here. You can see that trunk right there, and I did have, the issue was it was just dying. You could see it from the top down every year. It had more and more branches that had no leaves on them. Here we have this kind of faux oriental oak. There's plenty of this kind of stuff out here. But more importantly to me, as you know, are the flowers. Now this plant, a lot less impressive than the other one. It's a lot smaller, first of all, like a lot smaller. And it just looks okay. Like it's kind of palsied. And then we have some purple, naturally growing violets out here. Let's go over here and look at one of the holly bushes. We have 2 of them. One, which I was able to completely recover, because, which was this one, because it was definitely dying and suffering, because it had chipmunks living underneath it, which was kind of funny. Here we have more giant hostas, another purple feather flower plant. This, we have several of these gay feathers, which I planted a couple years ago. Bleeding heart plants. We have, I want to say now we have maybe four of them. Another miniature rose bush. One of the blueberry patches, which is, yeah, it's growing right here, you guys. Why not? You want some blueberries for your cereal, walk out the front door, pick them. If you get to them before the birds, there's usually a fight with the birds. And we don't fight them, we let them do what they need to do. Oh, let's go back over here. Over here, we have the gorgeous lavenderish plant, which actually has babies in several places throughout the property. Look at this. Some of the bearded irises are in their full regalia. Bloomy bloom bloom. Bumblebee. Even though I don't know if bumblebees sting. I don't think they do. I don't know. But I have my anaphylactic pen in the house if necessary. But there's another one. I did plant some gladiola bulbs over here just like maybe 5 or 6 days ago. So it'll be interesting to see those come up and through. It's Plant Central out here. And then over here I'm growing potatoes right there. This is going to be, and actually I could see some potato plants are coming up right here. You can see those from little baby to potato plants. They were not even showing yesterday. So all the difference a day makes. So one of my things is get out, walk around your property or whatever, however you grow. If you have a deck, however you're growing, a patio or a balcony or something like that, and check out your plants. It'll be amazing. You'll see differences day to day. Look at this batch of gay feathers. That's going to be a really nice batch. And all of these are purple bearded irises. I couldn't tell. Someone asked me once, how many do you have? Hundreds. Don't know. There's some mint. Mint is kind of growing. There's some mint over there randomly in this area. Initially, when I planted it right here. But for whatever reason, it decided not to grow right here. So I put cilantro in this area instead. And I don't know how, but somehow there's another piece right there of mint. So the mint is definitely regenerated. It's just not in the area where I initially planted it, which is kind of odd to me, but I am not nature. Nature is the boss. And over here, I planted some black-eyed Susans and more gladiolas, I think. Yeah, gladiolas, gay feathers, lilies, lavender. Lupines are doing amazing. Look at all those green bits and bobs. I cannot wait to see what these flowers mature into. Of course, as you guys know, I grow everything from seed. So I know what it looks like on the package, of course, but I'm always like amazed when things actually come through. More gladiolas, gay feathers, gay feathers, and we plant gladiolas in honor of my husband's grandfather on his father's, no, yeah, I don't, what side? Yeah, my husband's grandfather, he was a champion gardener, and you might be able to find old newspapers, articles about him. William Branch, Branche. And so when my husband told me that, I was like, dude, you should have told me that earlier. I would have been growing like a billion gladiolas. And so he was so happy when I decided to do that. Here is another bleeding heart plant. There's two more of them over there that are kind of at the babyish stage. Um, Giant pink feather plant. And look at this one, and you can see the colors coming in on that. And they actually, when the flower comes out and it looks like a fluffy feather, sort of like a feather duster, they actually get lighter in color. This is an entire patch of daisy seed are hiding underneath this mulch. And I believe next year they will come through. On the packet, it did say that they may not come through this season, so I believe them. And here we have more potato, a baby hosta, which grew from like 2 leaves that I transplanted. And we have potatoes and gladiolas over there. And of course, you can see the irises. Just love the way these pods look as well. I love that the pods give you like this peekaboo of color, another gay feather, and look at how hardy that one is. But then, of course, you can see what they look like. Absolutely stunners. And with gay feathers, to sort of preserve their life and to get them to, last longer, one of the things that I found is after the flowers come out, the first thing you want to do is water, water, water. Don't do that. Give them a couple of weeks, and I know it's hard, but almost 2 weeks of just natural weather. If it rains, it rains. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If you have a drought, go ahead and rain them. Go ahead and water them. But after a couple of weeks, then, some regular watering, like once every 2 or 3 days, will help preserve them so that they can look like this longer. If you start out by saying, oh my God, they're starting to come in, I'm going to water them every day, every other day, this is just my experience. I find that they just don't last as long. And I also like the fact that in my case, I have things that are growing in various successions. So the first ones that came out are the ones that are over there. And then these are the second, and you can even tell by the height. These will be the third phase. There will be some fourth phase ones in here. These will be the fifth and probably final phase. These are the youngest, so we might get a sixth phase out of those. So throughout the season, and then we have, of course, all of these that are here at the side of the house. So what happens is throughout the season, you end up having plenty of flowers, and they're coming back around. And how many horses do they have? I believe they have 7 or 8, and they have them at the farm down the road where they actually live, but they also have some at another barn location that they own, and that's actually maintained by whatever staff they have. So let's talk about something else. So one of the things that we were busy doing this season was revamping the entire deck area. So what that meant was in some places we had to reset the lattice work. We painted the entire deck and the lattice, and this is my husband and I who actually did this, believe it or not. And we did not do this. We had what we nickname the Roost built to onto an extension that we had added to this deck. And you can tell because it's a newer wood, we cannot paint that wood for at least, I think it's 30 days or longer. I have to see, I don't know. But so the purpose of this Roost, as we nicknamed it, and we're going to have a sign that says something like the Roost on it, is just like a multiple season room. So this will be, I would even say like a 3-season room. You would not want to be here when it's extremely hot. You would not want to be in here when it's extremely cold, except You definitely have that possibility because look at what we have in here. So the only season that you might have to worry about is if it's extremely hot because we are not, some decisions we made is that we are not going to put electricity in here. We're saying that now, but we both kind of are at 99% sure that we'll never do that, but never say never. That's why we save the 1%. Um, and we also are going to partially finish this. So there will be some sort of shiplap or something on the walls. Those little cutouts up above, we are actually not going to put any shiplap over those. We actually kind of like them. There's one here at the back and one behind me at the front door above. And so we're going to just kind of finish those out for little areas to display like little treasures or whatever. And also around the windows, we are not we're going to like use a caulking around them, but we are not going to like finish them out completely. And you could see I already taped the windows and such so that when we paint, we are, even the knob, we are ready to go. But it's what we will paint in here is the ceiling, and it will still have this sort of open beam structure look to it, but everything will be just painted white. And of course, in those cubbies that we're not going to put shiplap over, we are going to paint those out as well. And I have wallpaper that will cover the TUFF, which is, this is some sort of wrap, vapor barrier stuff. I don't know what it is, you guys, but whatever, it's something like that. That's what that is. And if you're going to finish the building, then you get that. You do have to pay extra for it, and it's not that much, but you get that so that it can be, when it's finished, it's proper, I guess. But the other thing that we are looking at, and I already ordered, is a giant carpet for this roost. The furniture inside will be what, I would consider it to be more minimalistic, meaning that it will have a futon, but not a gigantic one. We're not trying to fill up this whole space like that. But if you wanted to come out here and take a nap, if someone wanted to be adventurous and sleep out here overnight, I mean, I could imagine when our child was young, her and her friends would definitely do that. You could do that. The other thing, which I will continue with the furniture in a minute, is we did go ahead and seal and caulk like everywhere else that we needed to. The only thing is we used a clear caulking for that, and around the windows we'll be using a white caulking. So that's why the windows are not caulked, but everything else is. So yeah, the carpeting, the futon, there will be a corner shelf or some sort of shelving unit over here. And we do have sort of like, it's hard to describe it, but they're kind of like built-in tables that are part of the futon. So we technically don't need like another table in here, but we will probably have a small chess table that will sit somewhere around here, or the fireplace heater thing will go in front of this window, and that table could go in that corner over there. I do have wall shelves, the type that you like literally like hang on the wall, so that I can put little plants and things like that on them. And we do have an idea as to a lighting situation that also has a built-in fan. It is not a ceiling fan. It's definitely incredibly non-traditional. We don't even know if this hack, and it is a hack, if it's going to work, but we shall see. But we had this building constructed on the property. The people are out of like the Amish country in upstate New York. I think it's Lindquist, New York, something like that. And the Amish folks did not come here, but the folks that the Amish folks work for came out here and they actually had the panels like it's totally deconstructed like a puzzle. And then when they get to your property, they actually construct the entire building on the location that's approved, because you do have to make sure, you're doing this up to some standard level of code, because we put this on top of decking. We had to check with our town to see if we needed permits and to see what the parameters were, just to make sure like they weren't going to put this building on here and let's just say human beings or animals are in it and it collapses. So we knew that we needed sonotubes and such, and there's like 5 sonotubes, which is probably overkill. It probably only needed maybe 4, maybe 3, but we told our construction guy we wanted 5, and that was not an issue. More is better. And also, because this is elevated up off of the ground, several feet, that's a thing. So you could get this just like our storage house that you see, I think, out the window right there. You see that sits, it looks as if it sits on the ground, but it's actually on like a little foundation, which is made of crushed stone. And they had to level out the land over there in order to place it. And it's been sitting there now for many, many years, and it's had 0 issues. So we thankfully had some knowledge of how this could be done, if it could be done, etc. So the only thing that I don't know, we don't know how we feel about this, but we were like, should we have extended this decking out more to the left and the right side? Honestly, I don't think we needed to. There's only a couple of us that live in this house, so it's not like we're trying to accommodate like 30 people or something. Plus we have the normal deck, or the traditional deck that was already out there, and that is, we had a barbecue, and I think there had to be like 14 people on that deck easily. And so we're like, why, we don't need more room. Plus, we don't want to take anything else from nature. We've taken enough. We built a couple houses. Now this particular property has 3 buildings on it. I think we've made a big enough impact on nature, and we should calm ourselves down a little bit. So that's where we are at this point. And some features that we have built in here is that there are 3, look, the measuring tape is there because I've been measuring. But we have 3 windows. Usually, if you had this just as a standard building, you would have walls, you would have not this floor, it would be a particle board floor, and you would not have the wrap. This red and white wrap would not be part of it. Like I said, 0 windows. You would have the same door system, but you would not have a transom window. That would not be included. They do include a door closer, and their latches are all amazing, and they do have like this strapping design for the outside of the door. That's all standard, but what we got that were upgrades were that we added these 2 windows here on the left, here on the right, which gives you an amazing cross breeze. And then we had this larger window added here to the back. We, of course, as I spoke about earlier, had this wrap put in. We had the upgraded floor. And outside, you'll see that we have an upgraded steel foundation, or stainless steel foundation. Otherwise, you would end up with crushed stone. And they only put the crushed stone in the 4 corners of the building. They sit it on cinder blocks, and then they put the crushed stone around it. I have never heard of that before. Unlike our storage house over here, the entire pallet is like maybe 7 or 8 inches of crushed stone underneath it, which is how I think it should be done. So Just something to know if you ever decide to go on this particular journey. Another upgrade we had was this transom window. Now, there's a couple things I would have done differently. One is I would have had this, I mean, you get an amazing view. So honestly, I'm like being selfish here, but I would have had this, and honestly, lowering the window would have given you pretty much the same view. I felt as if initially I wanted this window lower, but I totally love where it is now. However, this window I probably would have had, instead of being up this high, I would have had the window start here and go to about here. I know it's weird. It would be a much lower window, but when you're sitting in here, you only can see, let me see, let me sit. I do have a chair in here, you guys, because I've been acclimating myself to it. But you can just see the siding of the house. You can't see any of the windows unless you go like this. You can see the very, very bottom of the top windows. And obviously you can't see the door. You can't see if anyone's entering on the deck. So that's the only thing that I wish we had done or thought about or considered in the planning, was just having the transom window lower. So let's go look at this foundation. So, as I stated, we have the upgrade of the stainless steel foundation. If you didn't have that, then you would have a wood foundation, and that's just what you would have. I find it strange. The other upgrade that we got was we added, or we didn't add, but we had them add shutters to all of the windows. This is what the shutters look like. I think they're super cute. We're trying to do, I won't talk about the design yet of the inside, but you guys will hear and see more on that, especially when the furniture has been delivered. We will be putting lattice work around the bottom. There's some of the lattice right there. And that will be going, so far we know we're putting it on the left and right side. We don't know if we're going to put it on the back. And the reason why is I've already stored some firewood underneath. So we're like, oh, that would be a great place for storing firewood. So we're kind of thinking about what to do. The only thing is, because hello, look at where we live. We do have bears, we have moose, we have deer, we have badgers, we have all sorts of birds, of course. We have fox, coyote, bobcat, what's the other thing? Fisher cats. We have a menagerie of animals. Snakes, I mean, you name it. We have just so many, that's one of the reasons we love it here. Like, if I'm ever eaten by a bear, or if a shark ever takes my arm or leg, do not euthanize those animals. They have the first right to be where they are. So that's one thing that we are concerned about, is like animals trying to live underneath. That's why we have lattice on the other parts of the deck. However, this part is not as deep as the part that I'm standing on. It would be almost difficult to get under. You could get under here, you'd be on your belly and you'd be on your knees, but who wants to do that? That would be kind of scary, creepy. I would say don't try to remove the animal, just hope that it moves on its own. Use some hot pepper, stuff like that, to try to move it on naturally. But anyway, so that's why we're not sure if we want to put lattice underneath this. And then we're also trying to decide, do we want the lattice here on the very outside, or on the pillars, which are sitting on top of the sonotubes that are underneath. So we're not sure of which location we want to use for that. This area right here, from the curve of that stone to the top of the bag right there, is where I am going to be planting the mint, to start a mint patch. And then back here, I don't know if we'll grow anything. I think we probably are going to put in some bulbs at least, just go crazy and put in a ridiculous sick number of bulbs. that are deer friendly, meaning the deer will not be attracted to them and will not want to eat them. And that's where we are with our gardening update, you guys, and the construction of this cute little building. Oh, another thing I like about this building is, and you'll get a better view of this, especially when I cover up their sign, but I do like the strapping, and I do like the fact that your trim isn't just a standard, like, rectangle, giant square trim around the door, but they actually do put, like, decorative elements into the building that most people you just don't get that, which is why we selected what we selected. But thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope that you enjoyed this live, even though I never announced it. And also, please leave comments below, subscribe to the channel, just say hi, just to let me know that you were here instead of just creeping in and creeping out. I appreciate that. Al appreciates it. Daisy appreciates it. Congratulations, Daisy, on your lifetime appointment. Wow, wow, wow.